Well, art imitates life. Hey everyone, of all of Marvel's stuff on Netflix, the only one I watched consistently was Daredevil. And it was pretty good. It was real superhero stuff, the development of his character, his costume, the whole Elektra storyline. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And I was really afraid that when it went over to Disney, it would get watered down and turned into this PG-13 stuff that, you know, not really relevant fare that Marvel Disney TV is known for. But man, was I surprised. This stuff is a strong R, you know, adult stuff that it's really captivating. And the first season, if you haven't watched it, was very much this mirror image between Wilson Fisk, also known as the Kingpin, and Daredevil's, return from exile, as it were. If you haven't seen it, you gotta watch it. And you definitely gotta watch season two. Season two delves into, and I just finished it not long ago, delves into stuff that is, the usual straight out of the headlines kind of reality that is, you know, in some cases really on the nose and still pretty good. There is a overarching storyline of Wilson Fisk redefining himself as the mayor of New York. And how does this arch criminal become the chief executive of one of America's biggest cities? Well, he creates an other for them to be afraid of, them being the population of New York. And the other in this case are vigilantes. Vigilantes are dangerous. They're around every corner. They're going to harm your loved ones. And in proper modern fashion, he creates a task force of people answering directly to him to take care of the vigilantes problem. And man, it's compelling. Daredevil uh, is on the back foot at the start of this season. He is basically, you know, in exile, in hiding in the city of New York, cannot operate freely or as freely as he did in the first season and the previous seasons, as the anti-vigilante task force is actively pursuing. And like I said, the thing that makes this interesting is the parallels and some current things going on in our country about the battle between freedom and security. And to dovetail for a moment, that's always been the battle in free societies. Liberty versus security. How free do you want to be? How you want to be able to do whatever you want to. You want to be able to move freely among the country, to go places, to not having your freedom of speech restricted, versus how secure you want to be. The more you allow people to have these freedoms, the more they allow bad actors to do things like terrorist attacks in the streams, or the problems we have with AI, where people are using this new technology and the freedoms those involved and the ability to create such things to do horrible things in the real world. And all of these things are covered in one way or another in the Daredevil Born Again season 2. And it is really something. I mean, the way they they portray Wilson Fisk as he's ruthless, and he literally murders people, and still he's able to govern without any restraint. And the role of Daredevil, our hero, who, for one part, his duality, his normal everyday civilian identity as a lawyer and a servant of the law versus a true vigilante who routinely breaks the law. Combine that with his Catholicism, which comes into play in this one too. It's always there, but it's like, Wilson Fisk is this monster, but should I grant him mercy and grace? And the way he handled this is in stark contrast to some of his allies, particularly the Punisher, who appears in several episodes in this season. Uh there's a lot of stuff I'm watching right now in the comic book world and comic book related stuff. The boys haven't ended it yet. I think there's one more episode. I just finished watching Incredibles. Some of this stuff is, very comic booky, and that's not a necessarily a bad thing. I mean, they're based on comic book properties, but Daredevil really struck me as stepping away from that, good guy versus bad guy kind of thing, and get to this image of, what is right, what should I do. He's really conflicted about how to handle Wilson Fisk when, the most obvious answer is to, just kill him. But he comes to grips with that, and in the end, he deals with it in a very interesting way. I think they're leaving it open for a season 3. If they don't, they're leaving money on the table. I've also heard word that there's a possibility of a Daredevil movie, which, you know, give me some of that, because that would make a good way to complete this. I'm not sure what they will call it. You know, Born Again. I don't know. But anyway, it's very good stuff. It's very compelling, very interesting. There's it's the same old, fight in the corridor that Daredevil is known for. But it there's some good visuals too of him having combat. But the storyline is just this battle he has internally in the mirror of him, of Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock, the Daredevil's ideology, is very compelling. Check it out. I had a great time with it. If you watched it or any other the Marvel Netflix or even Marvel Disney TV shows, what do you think? Which ones did you like? Comment below.